Hi everyone, welcome to How to Become a Go-To Person. So, what is a go-to person anyway? So if I'll take here, this is actually like a definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So it's someone or something that is relied on and regularly turned to for expert knowledge, skill, or performance, regularly or repeatedly chosen or employed for reliable good results. And I think that what pops here is that this refers to the skills that we have, but also demonstrating them over and over again. So, a little about me. Hi, I'm Hila. I'm a Staff Plus engineer. That means that I'm doing different technical leadership roles in different companies. At the moment, I'm a principal engineer at a company called Kodo. I'm an experienced technical leader with over 10 years of experience. I do public speaking, hence I'm here, and I do content writing. I write, and I'm a DDD enthusiast. So just a little bit about me. And what we're going to talk about today is why do we want to become a go-to person, right? Like why am I even talking about this? Afterwards, I'll jump into how to do it. This will be the main section of our talk, and I'm going to finish it up with a small section about empowering others to become a go-to person. So before I go and start to talk deeply into being a go-to person, I want to start by talking how I perceive leadership. And I want to do so by showing us 4 quotes of it's different big leaders or consultants in the world of management and leadership. Not all of the names are super known, but I like the quotes, so I decided to use them. And these are our quotes. The only definition of a leader is someone who has followers. Going below it, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. At the top to the right, as we look ahead into the century, leaders will be those who empower others. And going to the bottom, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Now, I know you're seeing the highlighted words, right? So I think this is really the emphasis of being a leader, right? You need people to want to follow you, right? To do that, you need to be able to influence them and to empower them. But you need to wrap all of this with actually generating a vision, right? Because people won't follow you if they don't believe in a better future, right? So taking all of this together, I want to tie it back to becoming a go-to person, right? Because I assumed technical leadership roles. Actually, my first one was not at this job, 2 jobs ago, right? I started working at a company called Augury as a backend engineer, but I transitioned from being a backend engineer to becoming a squad lead and afterwards an architect. And all of this has happened in, I think, a time span of 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And the reason I'm talking about all of this is because this is really my personal story. Because 2.5 years sounds really fast. And I was also struggling a lot, with the imposter syndrome. Why am I becoming a squad lead so quickly? Why am I becoming an architect? Well, when I look at my peers, there are usually men with between 10 to 20 years of age above me and also in experience, right? So the reason I'm talking about this is because I believe becoming a go-to person is sort of like a gateway to being a leader. And this hit me when I was having a conversation with my manager, and he was sorry, just need to rearrange something small in my screen here so I'll see my stuff. Okay, No? Okay, I wanted to see this. Wanted to see my timer to know that I'm doing well. So I was having a conversation with my manager, and he said that the reason he believed I can become an architect is because that every time that I go to a different group of people or a different domain in the company, I was always able to position myself as a go-to person, right? Whether it's a technology or a domain, a product domain, or a new type of people, I was able to do so. And this is when it hit me, right? That this is the gateway drug to being a leader. But I also understood that, like, when we're talking about this, being a go-to person is not something that is saved for leaders or managers or people with titles, right? So I have here I like this diagram, right? I call this impact circles or something like this, right? Depending on the seniority that you're at, or maybe how broad your role is, you have the potential to just impact bigger circles, bigger ranges of people, right? But it doesn't mean that, for example, as a developer, you can't impact your whole team, right? Or your peers. And as a team, it doesn't mean that you can't impact the group, and so on and so on. And even as a developer, you can impact the whole R&D. It doesn't say that. But the point is that it doesn't matter what your seniority or role is, you can become a go-to person. And this is something you need to understand, that you can start trying out tomorrow to improve your career and your growth path, right? And I really believe in this because this has been my true story, okay? Someone believed in me, and I have to say thank you. I say thank you. Obviously, I had the skills, but we need to have both sides, and that's it. And you can start doing that. So, 1 second, I'll drink some water. Okay. So I've been saying all this. I guess this is motivational, very nice, but how? How do we do this? Where do we start? So I want to start by talking about skills and behaviors, because the thing is, a lot about being a go-to person is not only having the skills, but people need to believe you have the skills. If you believe you have the skills, is not enough. So what are skills? Skills are abilities or expertise required to perform tasks and solve problems. And we have two types of skills. We have soft skills and technical skills. And in order to actually demonstrate skills that we have, we need to have to act with behaviors, actions and conducts displayed by an individual in various situations, right? So what does it mean? In order to show that we have skills, we need to do specific things, behaviors on an everyday everyday manner. But the thing is that behaviors is something very practical that we can talk about today, right? Skill is an abstract concept, and behaviors is something I can start doing tomorrow. So let's start talking about behaviors more deeply. Okay, so when I was building these slides, I sort of decided that it makes sense for me to talk about behaviors in 3 different pillars, and I grouped them into knowledge, caring, and letting go. Okay, this is the point in time that I suggest you either start writing ideas that sort of pop to your head, like things you do or could do better. Or maybe even someone else from your team, or I don't know, maybe you're a manager and you see this helping someone from your team. So let's kick it off. We'll start by talking about knowledge, and each time I will present a skill and talk about practical behaviors we can do to actually demonstrate it. Okay, so we have 3 skills for knowledge, and the first one is curiosity. So how can we demonstrate curiosity, right? First of all, what we can do is within the company follow internal communication. Okay, I don't know, join the right Slack channels, right? Read the designs, read the specs, do all of that, be aware of what's going on. In a parallel track to being, on top of things internally, you also want to be like the person that knows also what's, happening outside. Stay updated on tech and methodologies. It can be working methodologies, it can be new tech, it can be a new Java version coming up and all the best capabilities that's coming with it, right? But be the one that can, bring this progress. Another thing that I really like is actually asking to join interesting meetings. And even if you can't join, or maybe it's not appropriate to join, let's say maybe it's a customer call and they don't want to overload the room, so you can ask for a recording to learn more, to understand more, right? Personally, I really like companies that have an open calendar policy, and then you can see what's going on and what people are working on and stay on top of things, just by looking at calendar. Oops. And the last thing is that the three things I've just said can be quite overwhelming. So sometimes even going to potentially already existing go-to people around specific things and ask them for information, right? It can be a quick water cooler talk. Hey, listen, what's going on with this and this project? Tell me more. How did it go with this customer? And this also shows a lot of interest. Like, curiosity is important, right? We're looking a lot of the times for people that are curious, that can learn more, that will bring innovation. Like, there's a lot of good things that build up on top of curiosity. So that's a skill you want to do good at. The second skill that we have is visibility, because if people don't know you exist, how will they remember you? How will they remember to approach you as a go-to person in a specific domain or an area? And by the way, like, it could even be like a specific section of code, right? It doesn't have to be something big. Start with something, but you need to be visible. People need to remember you. So to do that, first of all, you can be curious. Why? When you do all of these things, people remember you. You come and talk to them about interesting content. Maybe if you're reading a spec, you can ask questions on it, or either a design, ask questions on it. And people remember that you are there and you exist, right? But also, it doesn't have to be only technical. It can be also personal. So you can just take interest in other people, like make small talk, ask people how their day have been. I don't know, so they remember you exist. Okay, and maybe next time when they have a question or they need to understand something, they know you are sort of related to the area or even leading it. I don't know. Great. So we covered 2 skills within knowledge. The last one is opinionated. Sorry. Being opinionated is a tricky skill because you need to do it, but you need to be very smart about it, because around being opinionated, a lot of the times either ego comes into the game, or people feel, other people are too dominant or stuff like that. We need to be very smart about it, and also very dependent on the seniority level we're in. So let's dive into this. So first of all, come prepared to meetings. If you're invited to a meeting and you want to sound smart, come prepared. If there's no agenda, ask for an agenda. Okay, ask for relevant reading materials. Do some Googling, find out for yourself. Come prepared, impress them with new things, with your opinion. Be backed up. If your opinion is not backed up, they will probably be a lot less impressed, and it will even downgrade you with their opinion. So share your thoughts as questions. I say this with a star, it's not 100%. This is one of the things that depend on your seniority. For example, I am a very dominant person in a room. I try to share my thoughts as questions, so it will be leading to the conversation. Instead, it will be overruling others. I try to do this. I'm not always capable of doing so, but for example, if you're a junior engineer or a mid-level engineer and you want to sort of step up, share your opinions as opinions. Understand what is the right forum. For example, maybe you have an opinion and maybe it's opposed to someone else, or I don't know. Sometimes sharing your opinion in a room that is too big or has a conflict within it can actually create the negative impact of what you want to achieve, which is just to share your opinion, and to do good. So understand if this is the right time to share what you're thinking. You can always write it on the side or share this to the person, let's say over Slack, or even as a message, or catch him afterwards for a one-on-one. It could be anything, but just be aware. And lastly, I write it for introverts, but this is, I guess, also kind of a lie, because I am not an introvert, but this is something that I like 100% I do. And I say have a mantra because I'll explain it from a story. So when I became an architect in Augury, so each architect in the company sort of got like this big pillar to lead. And my pillar was production excellence. How do we excel everything production? Alerting, monitoring, testing, quality, everything you can think of. And I was like, okay, how will I lead this pillar, big pillar, like the R&D, I think was 140 people at the time. And I don't know, how will I get all these great people to listen to me? How will I lead? I will be the forefront, right? And what I decided with myself is that I just need to get started, and I need people to feel I'm confident enough, and things will follow through. So I decided that my mantra is fake it till you make it, right? And I'm not like faking knowledge or lie or stuff like that. Fake a little bit of this confidence, right? Because if I'm coming into a room and I'm not confident enough, people will not want to follow me, right? And I did that, and it worked out. And in the end, I was able to lead some great projects there. But I don't know, find your own mantra. What helps you get through the day, get you through these fears, of not performing well enough, because usually things are okay. Okay, so this is when I was building these slides originally, I came across this GIF when I wrote the word leadership in Giphy.com, and I got it, but I really could not find a way to squeeze it into my presentation, but I had to. So that's that. Okay, let's continue. So we are finished with knowledge. Let's talk about caring. The first skill is empathy. Okay, so I know, like, usually when we're talking about caring, it sounds very douchey. I don't know, like companies say, we are people first, and, it's still like big companies or corporates, and you're feeling like it conflicts, but let's put all of this aside. Let's put all like the pessimism aside and take the good out of this, because like what you want is people to understand that you care about them as people, and you want other leaders to understand that you care about the company and the success of maybe it's only the team, maybe it's your success, maybe it's a success of the group or the whole company. I don't know, it depends on your role and your broadness, on the size of the company. But you just want people to feel that you are authentic and you really care about the success of what you're doing. That you're not secretive, that you don't have secret objectives, and, it will create a good connections with others and really help you, move to the right direction. So things you can do to actually show empathy is, first of all, suggest to help others, right? I've seen this happening a lot, like sometimes people are not comfortable asking for help, or maybe even they're asking for help too late in the process of what they're doing and they're wasting their time. So just putting the suggestion on the table and people knowing like they can approach you and it's okay, can go a long way. Another very practical thing is, well, I don't know if it's very practical, it's a little vague, is assume good faith. Personally, this is like one of my favorites. Sometimes people have a bad day. Sometimes people are just trying to reach their goals at work. So we shouldn't assume someone is trying to do something bad for us or trying to hurt us, right? So putting this in front of us really sort of helps us change the mind and see the other side as it is, just another person trying to get through their day, and it's all good. Another one that I really like is speaking up. Okay, if you see someone in a problem, whether it's a person or a project or something, speak up. Speaking up at the right time can really lead for you to show maturity and leadership, being able to pinpoint areas that need attention. Managers don't always have the time to look at things, so speak up. Great. So that is that with empathy. Let's talk about availability and approachability. If we'll connect it to visibility, even if people know you exist, if they feel when they approach you again and again and you're never available, they won't come again, right? They'll go to the place that helps them being unblocked, that helps them get their job done, right? So first of all, be responsive. Even if you're not available, try to answer, listen, I'll be available in that amount of hours. Or maybe even tell them, listen, I won't be available. If it's urgent, please contact that and that. This way they're not blocked and they're not in a wall of silence. Prioritize your time. If you want to be a go-to person, you need to prioritize time to actually help others, close up their problems. So yeah, just understand how you do that. One way is that you can actually use your calendar in a smart way. I tell people, if you need me, just schedule time in my calendar, whatever, even if you're blocking other meetings that I have or stuff like that. It will help me sort of understand that something is urgent and I need to go and talk to them. And also tell them, if they don't see any time in my calendar and they're not, they don't like the idea of overruling my time. So I tell them, write to me and I'll find the time, or I'll reshift my schedule, or I change things, right? Because I need to be smart in how I use my time to help others as a go-to person. And lastly, for caring is active listening, right? Everyone just wants to be heard, right? Listening to others doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with everyone, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take everyone's feedback and apply it, but everyone wants to be heard and really felt listened to. So something you can do, and again, this is something that is more relevant for people that are already maybe in leadership roles. Maybe if you're a mid-level, junior level engineer, you would prefer to talk first. So talk less is something that I really believe in, but am very bad at. I even sometimes just catch myself, and I'm in meetings, I put a hand over my mouth, because I want to stop myself from talking. It's just the Israeli excitement inside of me. It's not anything bad, and I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just, that's one of my personality traits, and this is something I try to control, so I'll give more room to other people. Next up is respond using follow-up questions, right? So there's nothing that stops a conversation harder than you're saying no, or just no, or no without explaining, or no without follow-up questions, or something like that, right? Having follow-up questions help the conversation come maybe to a better closing. The other side gets a chance to talk more, so think about that. And something that is sort of hard to do, but we need to think about it always, is to put our egos aside. I'll give you an example right now, or like I'm a principal engineer at a company, and I work with different engineers and different seniorities levels, and some of them have expertise which is way deeper than mine, for example, with LLMs or even with the specific domains that I'm onboarding into. And I have to put my ego aside when I'm talking to them, when they're suggesting solutions, because I know nothing at this point. Like, not nothing, I know stuff, right? But I always need to like try and think with myself if what's leading me is my ego of the fact that I'm like, I have seniority, I know what I'm talking about, or is it really like backed up with legitimate like knowledge? So easier said than done, but important. And lastly, don't make it about yourself. Sometimes when people come to you with problems, maybe they just want to vent. I don't know. I really try to sort of like ask people before I suggest solutions to them if they just can come and tell me about a problem. It's better to ask questions than to tell them, oh, listen, but I would have done that and I would have done that, So, okay, like this is not potentially helping this person unless this is really the type of feedback or ideas that they would love to get. We're getting close to the end of this section, like the practical behaviors I can do while working in engineering sort of set. So the last one, because we talked about knowledge and caring, now it's letting go. So letting go, I don't know, I don't have a better name for this. But basically what it means is invest your time where it matters, right? You want a positive work environment, and like it's somewhere between positivity and time management, right? So first of all, something you can do is avoid repeating yourself. This is, again, something I'm not always good at, but I'm trying very hard to catch myself if I find myself repeating myself in a conversation. If we're ending up in a he said, she said, or he, she, doesn't matter, right? I try to avoid repeating myself, and I try to remind myself that it's okay that I won't win, quotes, win, every conversation, right? I must tell you, most issues are not that important, right? Most things are okay and, whatever. Something you can do is, by the way, use tiebreakers, right? So you can bring another person to the conversation to get more feedback into it, right? And then maybe it's not a she said situations. Something that is very hard to do, for example, is don't engage from the start. Let's say there's a conversation that is going to happen. You have an opposite opinion from the person that is leading this conversation, so you can either walk into the room and both like get into the conflict, or just trust this person that even if he or she are leading a conversation and you don't agree, you trust them, and one of two things can happen. Either they make a mistake and learn from it, right? Or they prove you wrong if they push to their direction. So either way, it's a win-win. Again, not in critical things, not in things that can break the company, but most things are not that. Most things are not that. Okay. So the things I've talked about until now were mainly around how I can position myself as a go-to person within engineering. Now I want to talk about two other very important relationships that we have in our workplaces, sort of as a concept. And one, I want to talk about managing up your relationship with your manager. And the second one is beyond engineering, okay? So, I don't know, customer success or marketing or stuff like that. So, I don't know if you know what managing up is, but in general is you being able to manage and steer your relationship with your manager, right? To most benefit you. And I'm going to talk about this topic. I've separated it also into two pillars. One is around building trust, and the second is around generating impact. So let's start with the first one. Let's talk about building trust with your manager. So first of all, you need to manage expectations, right? Like things that don't overcommit. Okay, be realistic and honest about the challenges that are coming ahead. Okay, if you're not realistic, this shows lack of maturity and it lowers trust. Adjust your communication style. In a perfect world, your manager will adjust themselves to you and communicate the way that's best for you. Like, I mean, communication styles, for example, maybe it's like written versus verbal, or maybe weekly updates versus daily updates, or maybe even specific language words, So you can either hope for the best for them to align to you, or you can optimize to align yourself to their communication. This is good for you because then you can understand better what they want, and in the end, if you're tapped into the goals of your manager, this is in the next few slides, then this is your best way to sort of get into their heart. Be consistent and reliable, right? If you want your manager to delegate some of his responsibilities or ownership to you to be a go-to person in a specific something, so they need to trust you that you'll deliver and you'll be consistent and reliable. Okay, and by the way, being consistent and reliable means that if you're not meeting a deadline, you're raising a flag, right? They're not finding it as a surprise afterwards. So think about that. And lastly, seek and use feedback. Okay, go to your managers, ask for feedback in specific points and places, right? Really take them in. Really use that so they'll know that their words mean something. This also really, really helps build trust because they know if they'll give you a remark, you'll be mature about that feedback and you'll implement it. Maybe if you disagree, you can have an honest conversation, but at least, this is like coming from a good place. Okay, so first of all, you need to build trust with your manager, right? So they'll be able to let go because managers just can't let go, They're so worried because this is how they are measured, by the ownership that they are taking, but being successful to lead the team and stuff like that. If you want them to let go, they need to trust you. Secondly, the way to every manager heart is impact. Okay, so first of all, you can start by trying to anticipate their needs. You can be proactive and suggest improvements, like for things that that will bother the team. Maybe it's around velocity, maybe it's around different things. You can understand your boss's goals. Really understand what he is measured by and what his manager wants him to achieve, because if what you're doing is tapped into this, it's a win-win because everyone, is getting highlighted in a good sense. And I've seen it happen a lot of time that, for example, developers really care about something or do a lot of work around something that their manager don't care about so much. And then they're really frustrated because they feel they worked really hard, but nobody sees it because this is not what their manager is focusing on, right? So see if you're aligned with your manager, because if you're not, you're probably doing work that won't promote you. Okay. So this is the relationship with your manager. Now let's talk about beyond engineering, right? Because if you're working in a company that you need to interact with product managers or designers, marketing, sales, whatever, I know that personally I really love going to companies that are product-led, so I have a lot of these interactions. And this relationship is a little bit different from the others because these are not techies, they're not engineers, and they are different from us. So how can we build good relationships that even these people from outside of engineering will want to have you as a go-to person to, for within engineering? So first of all, build a common language. These people are not as techy as us. They speak a little bit differently, and it's fine. It's not a bad thing, but find a common language, and this way you'll, have a better way to communicate. If you understand each other, you know how to get the best out of each other. Secondly, understand their pain points. This really helps to build empathy, right? Like if you understand what really hurts, for example, sales are measured by the amount of deals that they close and the size of them, right? And this is not what I'm measured about, right? So if I understand what they care about and why they focus on completely different things, it builds a lot of empathy, right? And lastly, it's include them in conversation. Hear their thoughts. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to implement everything. But hear them. Let them know that they're like part of this. And this gives like a joint feeling of let's do this together, right? So this was that with these two very important relationship. 3, we talked about engineering, we talked about specifically your manager, and then we talked about beyond engineering. To our last section, I want to talk about empowering others. One sec. So I want to talk about helping others becoming go-to people. Like maybe you're a tech lead or a mentor or a manager, or maybe you just have a friend in the team that you would like to help them out. So first of all, let's talk about why it's good for us to have a lot of go-to people in a company, a lot of leaders. So we will have a lot of leaders without a title, right? Because sometimes titles are limited, but leaders, you can have a lot of them. It will end up in a state that we have less micromanagement, more independence in the teams. In the future, more appropriate promotions because people are able to demonstrate their abilities even beforehand. It generates a better work environment, and it's just easier and nicer to collaborate. The CTO of one of the companies that I worked at said that we are doing hard jobs. We need to make it as easy as possible to do it, right? Because we need to. It should be hard with our brains and thinking, and not with our emotions or struggling to get promoted or stuff like that. So I'll tell you how I see it, the process. It's fairly simple. First of all, you need to raise this person's awareness to the fact that they can become go-to people, and it can, really benefit with them. You can do that either in a one-on-one conversation, maybe in team meetings. You can send them this recording. It will be very good. They'll get a lot of insights out of it. Do it, yes. Secondly, you need to build a plan. From my experience, becoming a go-to person in an area, domain, a group of people, whatever, takes about 3 months. Okay, this is something that takes time because this is about relationships and people. This is not only about knowledge, right? So what I would do is even decide on a specific domain or tool or product or group of people, define them, and decide I'm going to become a go-to person, this, right? And after I get to this, maybe I start building up for more, right? So do that and choose a specific skill you want to enhance and do it gradually, not everything at once, and be very patient. And lastly, if you have the power to do so, increase this person's visibility in the company. Maybe you have a channel that is like success stories and this person done something really well. So share it in there for them, right? Do them that courtesy. So to sum up, and I know I've talked a lot and it's a lot of information, but this is a recording, so you can go back and learn it, hear me speak again, and you can also hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm there a lot. So to sum it up, influence others. It's all about people. Becoming a go-to person is not being about a technical magician. You need the technical skills, but it's all about people. And you need to earn your street cred by actually demonstrating behaviors, right? Titles are not enough, in my opinion. So start small, be patient with it, and if it's in your power, empower others to be these people too. So I dare you. I dare you to take 2 behaviors from my list and start implementing them tomorrow. Thank you.